So guys, every single movie review I do, whether it's for the DCE or freaking MCU, I do a spoiler-free one, and I say I'm going to do a spoiler one, but I never get around to it because I normally delay it like I have with this one, and then I think it's not worth it anymore. But screw it! We're doing this, guys. We're talking about Avengers Endgame, spoiler mode activated. Make sure you've seen the movie. If you haven't seen the movie yet, then go check out my spoiler-free review in the cards above, but freaking roll that intro. What is up, Avengers? Welcome to my Avengers Endgame spoiler. I was about to say spoiler-free review, but no, boy, we're going over spoilers in this video. And I cannot call this a review because I feel like I'm not going to review it in the terms of this is a 3-hour movie. I am guaranteed to literally forget about 3,000 things in this review. And I'm just going to talk, it's going to be like an open discussion-y thing. If you want to hear me talk about like the things that I've put down that are worth noting down, that's what I'm going to do. But in terms of like, oh, they walk into this bit and then like we see Iron Man in space and then I'm not going to do it like freaking shot by shot or anything. But anyway, guys, subscribe to this channel if you want to stay up to date with more comic book nerdy things just like this. I mean, check out some of my other videos. Go ahead and like this video if you do go on to enjoy the Endgame spoiler review discussion-y video. And of course, if you're a Marvel fan, which I'm sure you are, join my Discord server. Link is in the invite down below. Description down below. Link is in there. Check it out because you can talk about freaking Endgame with me personally and a bunch of other subscribers of this amazing community. So where do I begin, everyone? The opening of the movie, of course. Yeah, I really enjoyed the tone that already set up with Hawkeye and his family essentially disintegrating because of the snapping. You know, one thing I'm really happy about with what they did in this film, and I am guilty of it. I've been one of those guys who hasn't particularly cared about Hawkeye a massive bunch in his time in the MCU, but he got a lot of screen time this movie. I'm pretty sure probably more than Captain Marvel. I'm pretty sure Captain Marvel only got around 15 minutes, give or take. I think it's take a couple of seconds there. But yeah, Hawkeye, absolutely fantastic job in this movie. His scenes were so impactful. I'll talk about him a little bit later with a certain scene that comes up. But his emotion that he conveys across on screen when his family is going, and then like, for example, when that cell phone is ringing, when Hulk, snapped everyone back. Those scenes were really gripping me. But of course I want to talk about Thanos dying. Yeah, we're jumping straight to that, but does it really feel like jumping? Because that happened in like the first 20 minutes of the movie. I don't feel like I was as shocked as everyone else. For example, everyone's like, Thanos dying? Oh, what are we going to do for the rest of the 2 hours and 40 minutes? I wasn't like that because I think anyone who has their eyes, like, especially one eye on the page in terms of keeping up with information or speculation about Endgame, you kind of knew that, they would somehow use time manipulation. So I knew when he died and Thor went for the head, it's not like, oh, how are we going to get everyone back? I knew like Thanos would still be in this movie one way or another, and that is through the time stuff. So maybe a lot of people generally just don't look into it as much as I do, and I'm not saying I'm a guy who looks into MCU spoiler stuff or speculation a bunch, but I just felt like that was kind of obvious. But then of course, guys, Tony got rescued by Captain Marvel, and then, I'm just going to jump straight to the 5-year time jump with Iron Man with Morgan. That was really nice. You can't blame Tony. I mean, Tony's been explored in the MCU in such a way before that I mentioned it in my spoiler-free review about how I like how they went into the psychological aspect of how our heroes are coping with the snapping. Like that, they focus quite a bit with Black Widow's reaction to that, I felt. But obviously, Iron Man after New York, that was a big thing for him. I think, was it Iron Man 3 or Civil War? I can't remember properly. But either way, like, Tony didn't want to help out. He had a daughter in the meantime. 5 years go by. And just developing that story into the fact where he couldn't resist, but make the time travel machine, if you will. It was just so his character with a bit of conflict, with I don't want to go back and sacrifice everything and try and make it better and bring billions of people back, but because I want this to carry on in the way and I don't want to go into any danger, but I can't help it. I'm an Avenger. We need to try and do everything we want to do. But guys, I think the thing that's kind of confusing a few people in this movie is the kind of time travel aspect, which, is a very interesting one because, we had Professor Hulk, and I'll talk about Professor Hulk in a minute because, I think some fans' thoughts on that are kind of split. I think he says, the lines more or less, if you travel back to your own past, that destination becomes your future and your former present becomes the past, which can't now be changed by your new future. Like, it's it's weird. I don't want to come across as thick to you guys, but it's one of those things where you grasp it for a second, and I want to talk about it, but then, oh yeah, I've lost it now. I can't exactly break that down properly. It's kind of weird, like, trying to figure it out, because, you know, if you went back to change your past, you wouldn't really, you know, because of the fact that you altered it, you wouldn't really need to go back there in the first place, because that then wouldn't be your future. I don't know. You guys get what it is, but the main reason I'm talking about this, without, you know, that's a whole separate video if I really wanted to get into that, which a lot of people are doing at the minute. I don't know if I'm going to do that. But either way, you know, this kind of opens up a multiverse in the sense of, you know, split realities, in the sense of the fact that we're getting characters returning back now because Thanos came through the freaking the timey-wimey thing, and as a result, you know, that's why Nebula, when she got killed in the movie, it didn't erase her future self. It's not going by the cliche movie time travel rules. And of course, we've got Gamora back now, and the reason why she can be in this universe, obviously, is because it's not the way you know, they kind of usually present it. As I said, normally on the TV show or on a movie, if you killed your past self, it would disintegrate your new self or something like that. But obviously, these characters like Gamora are going to be a big factor probably for the next Guardians of the Galaxy film, to a comedic kind of relief, because she's not really into Star-Lord. And, you know, I kind of don't know where I'll properly land on that. It's great having characters like Gamora back now, because we kind of borrowed her from that other kind of split-off alternate timeline, if that makes sense, because it does make sense, but, you know, I'm sure some people would debate that. But it's not our Gamora. It's not Peter Quill's Gamora. I mean, it is, but it's not. But it is. But it's not. You know what I mean? It's also interesting to think about the other alternate timelines that could have opened up because of the changes. Like, what things qualify to open up a new alternate timeline now? I mean, people are talking about Loki, since he stole the Space Stone. That could technically open up that alternate timeline to the point where they never recovered it, and people are now even linking it to the Disney streaming service Loki show, where he could go around and just troll throughout time with I don't know. But either way, like, you could also argue that after he disappeared with the Space Stone / Tesseract in that moment in the film, the Avengers or Thor still got like a hold of him, and the timeline of events still went along normally. Like, he still died by Thanos' hand and stuff like that, but in that timeline he ran away and they managed to recover it, which never happened in the original timeline. You get what I mean? But it still ultimately ended up the same. But they could also do a bunch of other things with that and have Loki kind of alive and having never died because he stole that Space Stone. I don't know, but it's an interesting aspect, really interesting aspect to the time travel. Other cool moments I really enjoyed in the film was Tony meeting his father. Like this is the whole neat stuff about when they were going back to recover the Infinity Stones and borrow them from the alternate timelines, and thus opening up alternate timelines because they nicked the Space Stone, well, the Infinity Stones. Of course, you know, we also in this scene got a nod to like the Agent Carter, I believe, TV show with Jarvis being there. But where are our nods to the Netflix TV shows? Hashtag bring nods to the Netflix shows in the Blu-ray cut. I don't know. It'd be so sweet though, wouldn't it, if we got a Daredevil or something kind of thing in New York, or like the Devil of Hell's Kitchen has disappeared in the snapping. I don't know. That'd be epic. And even though I mentioned this at the beginning, guys, in case you haven't already realized, I'm just talking about the main plots of the film. Just as I said, kind of reacting / kind of reviewing the main bits. So I want to move on to even though this is kind of skipping a few things, Steve going back, since I guess we're kind of on the subject of the time travel-esque kind of stuff. Steve Rogers going back to Carter. That was very interesting, because this also kind of takes away that dude she was marrying, because you know the show got cancelled or whatever, but it never explored that. But now people are theorizing, and I kind of like this, that guy that she said she was marrying, that Captain America saved behind the enemy lines or something like that, was Steve Rogers all along, because you never like explored Agent Carter's original family or kids. So the kids that she had could have very well been Steve's along. And did he live in that alternate timeline and then come back to our timeline at the end of the film when he was an old man? And, you know, I mean, I assume Agent Carter would have died then and had Alzheimer's, for example. So, like, you know, he came back to our timeline and he's like an old dude having already lived. Because I'm saying alternate timeline because with Steve Rogers going back and doing a change in a timeline, like going to be with Agent Carter, that therefore does create an alternate reality in theory. But, you know, debate this in the comments down below, I guess. Do you think that they could kind of subtly do what I just said in terms of how her family was Steve's all along? But obviously it was super duper secret because you didn't want to be recognized as Captain America way back then when that technically never happened. It's confusing, but it's not. But it is. But it's not. But it is. Still on the subject of time travel, guys, Spider-Man going back to school. I'm literally reviewing this in such a weird way, just already skipping to the end of the film. Yeah, I like this discussion because technically, like, this would be correct, right? Like, because we saw Spider-Man, Peter go back in school. We saw him hugging Ned. Like, Ned seemed pretty devastated, to be honest. But either way, like, the question here is, all those students we see in Spider-Man Far From Home, are they, like, how do they happen to all not, like, be different ages? And I think, basically, the way you have to look at this bottom line is that people in the high school, of course, the snapping happened, so the people who came back are the same age, but obviously you have some students in that year group, or each year group, being 5 years older, but the people who happen to be in the Homecoming movie, but which, by the way, literally is set apparently minutes after Endgame, it are, you know, the people who happened to, I guess, disappear in a snapping, and they've come back and they're going on a school trip. It's just gonna be interesting to think that I'm guessing most people in Spider-Man Homecoming all happen to be snapped because they happen to be in the next movie. I mean, it depends, I guess, if you look at it mega fussy. Oh man, and I really didn't expect Black Widow to die. So, like, you know, I knew that Captain America or Iron Man would die one way or another. I didn't actually expect Iron Man to die. Like, that wasn't a given for me. I thought Steve was, even though he didn't die, he's just retired. But, you know, you can kind of count it as, like, he's out of the picture now, unless they do the old man Captain America thing. But Black Widow wasn't one of them. She wasn't one I expected. And that scene when they were going after the Soul Stone and they both wanted to die, like, we obviously had Hawkeye, like, you know, he kills people, but, you know, like, bad people, but, like, he also, you can see this kind of inner torture. He's like, you know, the things I've done. They don't explicitly go into it, but he feels like he should die. He doesn't, you know, it's just so powerful. And then she's just trying to take over, and they're trying to, like, fight each other, like, pretty roughly. Yet, you know, then they're not at odds with each other. They don't want each other to die, but one of them needs to do it. And that is just such a, you know, when she falls and, like, you see Hawkeye's reaction. Dude, it was more emotional than Gamora for me, and I didn't expect that. Not that I felt massively bonded to Gamora, but I don't know, man. You know, what does this mean for the Black Widow solo movie? Like, F-all, really? Because that's obviously going to be a prequel. People were saying, like, Scarlett, you know, there would be a different actress. I don't see why. Like, she's not, like, old. Like, she could, you know, they could have her do it. But it's just interesting to think, would she really do that prequel movie? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. But that was such I think that may be the first time I cried. I can't remember, because I did cry in this movie, obviously for Iron Man. I must have cried for Black Widow. Now, guys, let's talk about Thor. What did I think of Thor? I effing loved it, and I say effing and freaking and stuff, by the way, because demonetization. Yeah, so Thor, like, I loved it, but also I did kind of have a little bit of an issue with it. So I loved it in terms of, you know, when you first see him, it's hilarious. You have freaking Korg playing Fortnite. Fortnite's still popular in 5 years, so it seems. Not that I give a flying F about Fortnite. No disrespect to people who play Fortnite. I think it got to the point where I thought, oh man, like, so he's going to be like this for the whole movie? Like, when I first saw it, I thought, okay, maybe he's going to do like a super god thing where he can just change his physique. I don't know. Or maybe some more time would have passed by and he would have just got ripped. He's freaking Thor. Like, who knows what he could pull out the bag. But no, they kept him throughout the whole film. I do get, like, because they did play emotion into it as well. He was obviously, like, as soon as Professor Hulk, you know, mentioned Thanos, he just, like, brain melted. Didn't want him to talk about it. In retrospect, I do like that they did it the whole film now, I guess. But at first, it was a bit like, oh man, I kind of want the Thor Ragnarok hard-ass looking Thor. Even though he did, you know, just transform and get his, like, beard plaited. And like, you know, had his armor on, even though he's still very thick. That looked a bit cooler. But yeah, I'm kind of here nor there with it. I did feel like that Endgame did have a bit too much comedy than what I was comfortable with. Of course, this is a Marvel movie. Of course, it's going to be comedy. All of it, 96, 97% of it landed fine. I'm just saying it felt like too on the edge of too much, you know, than what I expect. Whilst we were briefly mentioning Professor Hulk, what did I think of that? I really wasn't a fan of, like, it was comedy, but this is what I meant by not all of it landed. I didn't think that the freaking dab was, you know, that scene went on for a bit too long. Like, do you know what I mean? But, you know, not everyone may feel the same way about that, but, you know, it wasn't a massive thing for me. I guess I'm neither here nor there with it. Kind of the same with Thor. Like, I enjoyed aspects of it, but also it felt a bit weird. I know, like, quite a lot of people feel the same way. I just don't know where my mind is on it still after all this time. I think I would have maybe taken a step back on it, maybe had him go back to Bruce or something. But I don't know. But it was still like a cool thing. So, you know, in retrospect, again, you know, that if they're only going to do it once and not have him be like this forevermore, then maybe maybe that's going to be a thing. I don't know. But his video is going on for quite a while now, so I just want to talk about those cinematic shots at the end, guys. Those were absolutely godly. My God, it was amazing. Jesus, this is what DC, this is what they do right. That lineup happens when you've been doing it for 10, 11 years. That happens when you've got all these heroes and characters established. Okay, I'm not really taking digs at DC. I'm just saying Marvel have got to this point because they did it right. They did it great. Man, it was just so awesome. You know, freaking Spider-Man with the Infinity Gauntlet. That was so cool. You know, how he met Captain Marvel in that moment as well, and he was just clinging onto it. The music was great. We saw Spider-Man's instant kill mode, which is just like stabbing a load of people at once. A lot of payoffs, like little payoffs that I'm obviously going to forget to mention. 1,000 different things I'm going to forget to mention in this review. You know, Captain America was worthy. Holy crap. That was just... My God, that was just, I think, my favorite moment in the movie. Like, I got chills throughout my whole body when, like, you know, Thor was like, I knew it, and he's, you know, I know people were going on about Stormbreaker, by the way. I'm not going to make a whole video about this, I'll just say it here and there. Like, the reason why, like, you know, Thanos could kind of lift that is because, you know, that didn't have, like, the same kind of enchantment, if you will, that Mjolnir had on it, that you had to be a worthy kind of ruler. Stormbreaker is just like a freaking godly weapon, but you can pick it up if you're... I don't know, strong enough as a being, biometrically, I don't know, ripped or something. But Mjolnir, you generally need to, you know, it's an actual magical-esque kind of enchanty kind of wibbly-wobbly thing, and that's why Steve could freaking do it, and that bit was so good. Like, the way he's bashing Thanos with it and spinning it, and, like, you know that shot where he jumps up and, like, I think uppercuts Thanos? I can't say anymore. I just can't. You guys know what I mean. Brie Larson was in the movie for about 15 minutes when she came in. You know, it was alright. Like, I don't really know what to say. I will say I'm not the biggest Brie Larson fan, but, you know, I didn't let that affect how I viewed Captain Marvel. I really enjoyed that movie. It was great. It really, really was. I thought it really pleasantly surprised me. As far as her new haircut, I know it's comic book accurate, but I think, you know, just personally here, I like a longer hair more. I just think it suits her more. She just came in, like, destroyed the freaking flagship. OP as hell, but, you know, I can't say shit because Superman, like, would do the exact same thing. Her fight with Thanos, whilst I'm thinking about it, was pretty epic. I really didn't like how he literally got to that bit. He was about to freaking click it, but at the same time, you know, I say I don't like that, but really, like, that's you know, when you're getting that reaction out of the viewer, that's exactly what you want to do in a movie. But I just thought it was so goddamn stupid at the same time that he got to the point where he's about to freaking click it again. Like, they already did it a couple of times. Like, he got it on, he was trying to do it, then she tried to yank it off, but then there was another point where she got, like, knocked back and he was just about to... Jesus, like, imagine if that happened. Like, just imagine if that happened. It would be so bad. And then, of course, guys, I am Iron Man. Like, I don't know if I could talk about this too much without tearing up so much. Now, God knows how Tony managed to rip 6 stones off that Infinity Gauntlet. I guess it's some Iron Man techie, like, friggin' magnety absorby thing, that how he managed to do that just in that second where he got wiped back. I'm not going to nitpick that or anything. You know, it was just amazing because obviously Hulk did it previously in the film, but he can absorb a lot of that gamma radiation. Apparently, that is associated with the Infinity Stones, you know, snapping, but obviously he's just a human, so, you know, you knew the second he was going to do that he was going to die. They even, like, tinkered it in terms of seeing that little blue infinity stuff running throughout his face. That kind of similar happened to Star-Lord, but obviously Star-Lord is like part freaking demigod-y-esque kind of ego-y kind of thing. Not going to get into the technicalities there, but, you know, that's why he could kind of hold that one time. Tony Stark, just an average dude like me. I mean, I would crumble in a second, but Tony, just seeing him barely coherent. Of course, they have to throw Peter in there, of course. Just seeing him, as I just said, barely coherent. He barely, like, registered Peter. He was barely looking at him, but obviously when Pepper came, it's like his coherency came back a bit more, because it's the love of his life. But yeah, man, that was, you know, it's a perfect way to end it. Perfect sacrifice. Perfect last line to say, kinda, you know, I am Iron Man. I don't really know what more else to say apart from that was such an amazing moment. It was very sad seeing that video message afterwards, you know, to his family and to everyone, really. And it was just such an amazing end to the 11 years of Marvel films. That's truly the end of the phase. That end credit scene that everyone's making videos about. Jesus Christ, that clickbait. You know, you could say post-credit ending. You know, that's fine, I guess. But like the Iron Man, you know, making his armor, like smacking the anvil, if you will, with the hammer noise. You know, people are saying, oh, what if this is like a hint to Ironheart? Or I think it's just meant to be something like, it started with Iron Man forging that suit. They put that sound at the end because it's ending with Iron Man making the biggest sacrifice. So, of course, the movie had Easter eggs, guys, you know, like Hulk eating that ice cream, Howard the Duck in that final battle lineup. We had Captain America saying Hail Hydra, and a bunch more. Like, I'm sure you guys know them. I'm sure you guys have seen freaking those Easter egg videos of everything in Endgame. I'm not going to list them here. Too late to make a video about it. But that is my review, guys. I've been blabbering for like, I'm sure this is cut down more than what it says for me right now, but for 25 minutes now. And I hope you enjoy my thoughts on it. I guess you could call this a review, but spoilery review. It was such a fantastic movie. I go over more the cinematic, technical side in my spoiler-free review, if you will. This just, you know, slapping spoiler review on this just gives me an excuse to, like, just talk about everything spoiler, obviously. But I would love to know what your favorite part of the movie was down in the comments below. Did you agree with anything I said about the movie? Did you feel the same about some of the comedy, maybe, or Thor or Professor Hulk? Did you react the same as me? But other than that, guys, as I said at the beginning, join my Discord server. I would love it. I'd love to see some more Marvel fans in there. Talk about Endgame with me. Check out some of my other links to Twitter and social media and stuff. But thank you so much for watching, guys. I love you. 3,000. And I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.